Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Shay Douglas from Earth Heroes TV, and today I'm joined with Dr. Espen from the famous Dr. E TV. Absolute pleasure and a privilege to be with you today, Dr. E. Welcome. Really excited because in this video, we're going to be discussing the importance of impacting people's lives through finding your message and scaling your mission. This is something Dr. Espen has done so profoundly well to help serve humanity at this point in time when we could probably all agree that the world needs a lot of healing. And we've just finished the Quantum Advance on the Gold Coast 2 weekends ago, which was absolutely phenomenal. Over 200 students attending and just so many phenomenal breakthroughs, just such a powerful experience of transformation at a pinnacle. I don't know anyone in Australia who is, creating these events to allow people to go through their process, go through their journey, unravel their story and come out the other side. So today we're going to unpack that a little bit deeper with Dr. Espen, and he's going to share these 3 steps with you guys so that you can incorporate these more into your life for a longer lasting sense of change, ongoing, and that you guys can also help serve other people. So this is really, really important conversation. It's going to be a great conversation because we're also going to focus on the online aspect, looking at how the impacts of documentaries, which we're going to touch on later on, and also virtual experiences. So Dr. Espen, thanks for your time, mate. It's lovely to see you, and I love having these conversations with you. Thanks for joining me. How are you today?
I'm awesome, brother. Such a privilege to be with you, mate. Every time you and I end up having discussions like this, like today, we were just like, okay, so we're doing an interview, and we just went off the cuff. We're like, what do we want to speak about? What do the people need right now? If you have a message or a vision, if you have an idea, if you have challenges or traumas of the past, and you wish to, 1, heal them, and 2, be able to do the same for other people, what is a quick 3-step strategy that you could apply to be able to put your message on the map? So I'm absolutely excited to be here, brother.
Yeah, and this is a really great conversation because so many more people are stepping up in these times that are rapidly changing in this world that we find ourselves in. And people are really wanting to and willing to go out and serve more people. So that's something that you've done for many years now, particularly with the quantum events that you've hosted all across Australia and also going international these days. So I'm just curious, what is the first step essentially to be able to, get clarity on the message and get, find the mission? What would you suggest having, this experience?
Great question. There are 2 parts, 2 answers to that question as far as I'm concerned. So the question is, how do we recognize, how do we get our message to the people? How do we put our message on the map? If we have an idea, a vision, if we have a drive inside of us, a message inside of us, a purpose inside of us, or something that we really value, how do we get that to people? It's an amazing question. The first answer to that question is to, and you might want to write this one down, to recognize trends. Okay, if you look at innovative, disruptive businesses and ideas and coaches and mentors and facilitators and teachers, the ones that are really popping up in the world are the ones that either start a trend, which normally never happens, or 2, can recognize an existing trend. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was teaching breathwork 15 years ago, and I was saying to the people that were coming to my classes and learning about yoga and breathwork, I was saying, if you start now, if you start understanding breath work now, if you learn to teach breath work now, you'll be way ahead of the curve. Now, this is 15 years ago, and it wasn't many years after that suddenly everyone in the world, well, I would say majority of people in the modern world, knew or found out about a guy called Wim Hof. Okay, so it's the potential to recognize trends ahead of time. A mistake that many people make is that they make their business basically aligned with what they like and what they think is going to be great for other people because they like it as well. So make no mistake, the business that you create, the message that you have, the story that you share, which I'll get to in a moment, is, yes, about or related to you or your story perhaps, but it's about them. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this in a moment because this is very important. People try and sell what they like, not thinking about what other people like. So the first step is to recognize a trend, perhaps a niche or a missing point in the marketplace where you can see an up and coming need for a product. Look at Uber, for example. Taxi industry had complete monopoly on this transformation thing. You know, there were some buses and trains, but if you were to go from, you know, this house to this house, there was a taxi, right? And then suddenly Uber comes along and disrupts the entire industry, and the taxi industry almost went under, right? So my question to you right now is, and this was the video, all right? And this is where you answer this question, you write it down. So here's the point, here's the question. Where this world going? Okay, where can you see this world going? And let's be positive. Okay, let's assume that everything's going to come back to beautiful harmony and everything is in a beautiful place. But where do you feel the world is going, and how can you leverage a trend now, or start to research a trend now that people are going to be potentially lining up for in the future? So with what we do in the Quantum Advanced, as you can see up there, there it is, we teach a 3-day curriculum that stands the test of time. So we combine science and spirituality, and we put it together in a 3-day event where we guide people through how to break through the primary blockages in all the 8 areas of life. So we help them with their physical health, mental, emotional, financial, relationships, personal development, career, vocation, and mission. Okay, spiritual fulfillment, purpose, and how to live in the present moment, which is what we call, you know, mastering time, not having time mastering us. So instead of going to 8 different seminars, you get 8 seminars in one. Okay, and we leverage, and here's our niche. Here is how we could recognize an up and coming trend. When I broke both my legs and almost died in hospital back in 2006 into 7, almost 2008, this was ongoing for a long time, I recognized that there was a huge void, a huge missing piece in the healthcare system. Well, we call it a healthcare system. It's not a healthcare system. It's a sick care system, because you don't normally go to your GP until you're sick, right? You don't go to your GP and say, hey, can you help me how to, optimize my potential? That normally doesn't happen. You go elsewhere for that, normally, unless it's a holistic integrative GP, of course, as an example. So I recognized that what we called healthcare was not healthcare. It was sick care. So I created a multidisciplinary health center that became 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And eventually my business partners and I did 8. And then I did 2 multidisciplinary health centers on my own as well. So we basically started and scaled to 10 multidisciplinary health clinics, including medical doctors, dentists, chiropractors, physios, radiology, pathology. We had yoga, Pilates, nutrition, naturopathy, like all of this in one-stop shop. And so the reason why I shared this with you, and the reason why this was so successful, is because we did something that no one else had done, in at least in our location in Australia before. So we brought allopathic medicine or classic medicine with integrative medicine with holistic therapies all in one shop. And we had lifestyle medicine as the primary prescription before we had our medical doctors or whoever prescribed drugs, and we prescribed other types of therapies. So I speak to this importantly because we were able to recognize a trend and or a missing gap in the marketplace, just like Uber did in the taxi industry or the transformation industry, or excuse me, transport industry. So my question to you right now, and you might want to pause this video, is where can you now see an up and coming trend? I can tell you right now, there's a lot of mental and emotional and physical stress in the world at the moment. And so the world is going to need people that are really good at this. Because of the situation that we had with the pandemic, people are going to really struggle. I mean, the suicide rates were way beyond that of the deaths of COVID, as we can see from the stats. So people that have been forced into separation, they're going to need help integrating into society. They're going to need coaches. They're going to need mentors. They're going to need facilitators. They're going to need community, right? So you can already see that trend coming. Like I said, I've been teaching breathwork for 15 years. We are world class at our breathwork. We help people enter the experience of bliss and grace. We help people have an out-of-body mystical experience where they enter the field, in under 25 minutes. So it's because we've been doing it for a long time, but now people are starting to learn about breathwork, and breathwork's like a common thing. We've been doing it for 15 years, right? So point number 1, recognize up-and-coming trends. Okay, pause the video, write down what you believe is an up-and-coming trend, and then press play. Let's keep going.
I love that. And just to highlight that first point, it's so profound, because even Tony Robbins, he even speaks to this, and I really want to highlight this because you're really touching on this point that followers, react to what's going on in the world. However, it's those who are leaders and influential people who anticipate what's coming in the world, and anticipation, stepping into that creative mindset and that opportunity as an individual to step into more compassionate, humble leadership, to be able to think about what is actually coming into trend right now, or is at the beginning of that curve, so that we can stay ahead of the game, stay prepared to be able to serve more people, to be able to help our fellow humans, our community and our friends and family, to be able to have the tools and the wisdom and the skills to navigate some of the potential challenges that may arise. So I think that's just a phenomenal step. And thanks for sharing that. It's something that, I've witnessed in your work. You do so well, particularly in bringing people together and sharing this in such an abundant way, where you serve at these events by giving everything that to help serve these people go through this process of change and transformation. So it's a beautiful thing to observe and witness and to be a part of. And that I guess brings us to the second point here is, as we've mentioned, we're going to be talking about 3 of the steps to be able to scale, particularly on the online space, but also just your message and your mission. So what would you suggest to people? And I love the takeaways that you're giving people to reflect upon. What would you say is the number 2 biggest step that's required for those who are really willing to step into that space? Looks like we've just lost Espen, but he should be back in a moment. It seems that internet connection. While we wait for the connection to come back, I just wanted to share at the last Q Quantum Advanced Experience, 3 days on the Gold Coast, phenomenal transformational journey for nearly 250 people going through this process of healing. We've been sitting and discussing with Espen and the team, Marcia and the entire team, how can we get this message out there to impact more people's lives? It's such a powerful mission to recognize the connecting thread here. And so this is where we really started to discuss, the importance of going online, the importance of a virtual experience, for example, and also creating this new quantum documentary. So that was tied into this intention to be able to bring this to more people, because we're starting to realize that now online, at the click of a button, people can get access to information, and it can reach millions of people in the same time span that you could sit and deliver a in-person event. So we really began to look at how we can leverage this element of interconnectedness that we have through the online space to be able to help serve more people and get this message out there further. So Dr. Espen, he's back. I just wanted to bring it back into step number 2 for people to take away to scale their mission and message. Looks like, are we still with us, Dr. Espen? Might have lost connection. That's okay. I'm just going to still with us, Dr. E? Alrighty, so would you like to share step number 2?
You there, bro?
Hey, brother, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're back.
Nice. Cool. So just explaining, the importance.
Cool. We're gonna have to do an edit on this one, obviously. But yeah, I think moving forward, it's a shame. But let's get we'll talk about it later. But let's get the team to get all the assets, and then we have to do this in Zoom moving forward because it's just too unstable.
Yeah.
unfortunately. Okay, so shall we jump into number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. So the second thing that you need to be aware of, the second thing that is by far a thing that you'll learn, a thing that you'll refine over and over and over again, but more importantly, a thing that you are going to use for the rest of your life if you wish to have impact. And that is to understand, to extract, or to extrapolate, if you will, to create your own powerful story, your own hero's journey. Some people have heard of the hero's journey as a template, for example, which comes originally from the book A Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell. Very necessary book to read. And you could even just Google the hero's journey on YouTube and learn more about the template. Now, if you think about your favorite speakers, teachers, mentors, coaches, whoever, you're always going to see that they often, if not always, start with a story. Now, this is very powerful. In fact, if you read the book Talk Like TED and you look at the science as to the person in TED history, TED Talks, that had the longest standing ovation, the longest applause, that person had the absolute majority, and I mean more than 50% of the entire presentation was a story. So think about this. If you don't have a powerful story, you don't really connect emotionally with your students or clients. When you watch a movie, you don't watch stats and facts. You watch a story. Stories have been passed down through generations and generations, and your lineage and the wisdom in your lineage comes from telling stories. That's really how it works. So the second thing that you must have is a powerful story. And that powerful story is a story that's true to you. It's aligned with your values, and it clearly represents and shows and demonstrates you as an authority within your specific field. My example is simple. I broke both my legs. I got a real nasty staph infection from hospital. I lost 15 kilos. I almost died in hospital twice. And if it wasn't for what we teach now as to how to use the quantum field of divine intelligence to both heal yourself and master your life, well, then I would have, in the very best situation, had one leg today. Okay. So I had the opportunity to heal myself using the things that we now teach. And we've seen tens of thousands of people heal themselves from stuff that doctors said was uncurable. And we're doing it on a regular basis because they have that healing power inside of themselves. It's called innate intelligence. You all have it. We all have it. Yeah. The doctor can dress the wound, but only you can heal. So I was able to have trauma, heal myself, and now having the authority to teach it to other people because I can live it by example. So right now, if you are listening to this, know that there is a story in you. Know that there is a hero's journey in your life. Your soul is having a human experience. You've gone through challenges and traumas for a very specific reason. Don't think that they happened to you. They are happening for you. They are part of your hero's journey. They are part of your story. So what you then do is when you come to my 3 days or do my accelerator program, you will unpack this, you'll learn it, and you'll actually build your own hero's journey, which is really exciting. Moreover, you can actually Google this yourself. And here's the difference. Let me just explain the difference between the hero and the villain. Okay? The hero and the villain both, and so the villain is obviously not you, you're the hero, right? The hero and the villain both have gone through very similar challenges. They've had pain and obstacles and traumas and trials and tribulations, right? The only difference is that the villain says, the world did this to me, so I'm going to get back at the world. Okay, that's the villain. The hero says, the world did this to me, so I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. And that's who you want to be. The person that has gone through traumas, challenges, risen from that like a phoenix, and now you share your story with people and you're helping people in alignment with point number one, which is to understand a niche in the marketplace or an up and coming trend. You're using your story. You're using your mission aligned with your values, because if you do not love what you do, don't do it. If it's not meaningful to you, if you need motivation, it's not your highest value. If you have inspiration, if it draws you in, it's your highest value, then you do it. And then you use that highest value, that inspiration, that drive that you innately have within you to serve the world and make the world a better place, because you have suffered, because you have gone through the challenges in the past. Now you've risen like a phoenix, and now you're going to the world to help the world as a hero. So the second most critical point is for you to write down, take the time. This will take weeks and months and years of refining your hero's journey story, but refine your story and pay close attention next time you watch a movie. 80+%, probably more, of every movie you've ever seen is based around the hero's journey. The hero's journey can take 3 hours to tell, or it can take 30 seconds to tell. If you were with me 10 years ago, you would have found a young Norwegian man with XYZ. Then I realized something, bang, 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 return with the elixir. And that is why I'm so passionate about helping people XYZ benefit, benefit, benefit. That's a story. And not only is it a story, but it's your story as well.
That's so good. It's so powerful in the
And
way
it's
that
your
you
story because of them.
That's huge. Just letting that sink in there for a moment for those who are listening, and encourage you to write that down as well. If you need to pause this video and then go ahead and write down, your own story. It's a process that many great psychologists suggest as well, with the self-authoring process from Jordan Peterson. It's just a phenomenal way to just really unravel and unpack a moment to reflect on our own journey and our own experience of life, to be able to use as a tool to then serve other people, so that they can inquire into the depths of who they are and realize why they're here, and realize how they can use that story to benefit others. So it's powerful stuff, Dr. Espen. Thanks for sharing. I love that step. How about, would you be open to revealing the third most important step to help with scaling this mission and this message that you've been on for so long? Love to hear it.
Absolutely. The third and final thing when it comes to scaling your message online, getting the message out to the people, whatever. So the first one, we've identified a niche in the marketplace or an up and coming trend. Okay, that means that we are going to be a big fish in a small pond, because again, no one can do what you do. You're unique. Okay, so you have recognized something that they need, not that you want, but that they need. The second thing, you have identified not only your story, but also how your story is directly aligned with that need in the marketplace. Okay? This has to be the case, because if there's no match, it's not going to work. And furthermore, as I shared, you must know that you must know your highest value, what it is that you truly love in life. What's your most meaningful thing in life? Because your business or your mission or your message is directly aligned with something that's meaningful to you. That way you don't need motivation, because you have inspiration. Okay? So this is very important. And then the third and final step, which is about your marketing message, it's about your getting the message out to the people, is to remember that every single person, this is an old saying I heard in sales, every single person is listening to one radio channel, and that radio channel is called WIIFM. It stands for What's in It for Me. You have to learn to make it about the students. You have to make what you're doing about your clients. It's coming from that consciousness perspective of authentic love and service. So you're not in business to make money. Well, you may be, but I will challenge it right now. You're in business to do what you love and to serve people. And in my philosophy, money is simply a byproduct of the amount of people that I serve. So you don't go into business for selfish reasons. You go into business for reasons that are helping you live an extraordinary life, which can be doing what you love, which is kind of selfish, but it's not at the detriment of others. And at the same time as you doing what you love, you're making the world a better place. That's not an entrepreneur, that's a soulpreneur. So the third and most important step is to lift it up. If you know spiral dynamics, lift it up to a level 6 and have your mission and your vision and your purpose statement anchored in contribution. That is absolutely critical, because then when you hear the stories come back, like we have had so many stories. We had a gentleman stand up. You remember this one, Shay, in the last event. He was, how old was he? It was 80. It was in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like nearly 90. He was definitely in his 80s at least. Yeah.
Right? Beautiful man, stand up and said, I've never in my life experienced love before like I am experiencing today. It took him 80 plus years to experience that kind of love that he experienced in the room at the 3-day event. And you see, when you have stories like that, when you can facilitate work, breakthroughs, healing, whatever product or service that you're rendering, that you're giving to the community, that you're sharing with the world, when that is what's coming back to you, oh my, are we inspired to do another one? I don't need any motivation. I just want to get in front of more people like him so that they can have similar experiences. And see, that, my friend, gives me life force. And if you want to take it to that esoteric quantum science level, it's real simple. Whatever you do is either going to steal your life force and suck your energy, or it's going to give you life force and it's going to propel you forward from a place of inspiration. So if you're doing something right now that you feel is not, like, honestly, is not actually making the planet a better place, if you're doing something right now that you're actually not in love with anymore, it's not aligned with you anymore, with your values anymore. If you're doing something right now that you feel, oh shit, well, I'm making money, but it's not really actually benefiting the world, then you're slowly, if I can be so blunt, kind of killing parts of your soul. I had a guy once, he came to my conscious enterprise retreat. He was worth over 200 million. His company was a large construction company in Australia, 200 million. He was basically forced to go to the retreat. It's called a conscious enterprise retreat. And he was pretty much, forced to go there by his wife. He was overweight. He was very unhappy. His brother was unwell because he was also living quite unhealthy. And the family basically was falling apart. So he was on the outside seemingly very successful because he had a very successful construction company. But he had a big problem. And the big problem that he shared with us was, my industry is broken. And I'm just paraphrasing at the moment. He said, most of my colleagues, they'll start the morning with a cigarette and a sugary, kind of energy drink. And then they'll stress and stress and stress and stress and stress and maybe have some unhealthy food for lunch and go home to their families and eat some more sugar and not be present. And so what he discovered was a huge, huge gap in the marketplace. And so after working with me in the Conscious Enterprise Retreat for 6 days, we constructed a new type of business for him, which we named Constructing Consciousness, which became him actually starting a consulting agency, coaching young men in the construction business, which is normally a lot of men, not only, of course, but quite a masculine industry, to be able to be more in touch with their emotions, eat cleaner food, take care of themselves better, spend more time with their family, and so on and so forth. And that's what he was really passionate about. And this is really critical because you could imagine, if you're in a business and you're doing something that you really don't love or really don't feel like it's serving you, the universe has already given you the signs. You've already got the signs. You can just look in the mirror. Okay. And if it doesn't drive you, if it doesn't make you more aligned with your mission, if it doesn't help you excel in life through a place of inspiration, then it might not be the right thing. So the third and final thing is to really make it about contribution. Is to really make sure that what you're doing is aligned with your highest values. That way you don't need any motivation because you have inspiration. It draws you in. You don't need a push. It's a pull. And when you make it about them, you make it about contribution, is also kind of selfish, because when you contribute to the world, like the gentleman we talked about in the 3-day event and the tens of thousands of people that have had healings in these events, all I need to do is to hear their stories, to listen to their stories, to read their testimonials. And I am fired up. And the money that I receive is in direct proportion to the healing that I render. So I don't really focus on the money. The money just arrives. What I focus on is service. And it's not service based on sacrifice. I have to speak to this. Sometimes people don't feel good enough. They have what I used to have, which is what's called a savior complex, where they sacrifice their own life and their own time and their own health and well-being to basically serve others in the detriment of themselves. Well, that's because you don't feel good enough. So let's put that aside and let's know that you are good enough, and then match up those two things. One is service, and two, the other one is something that you love to do. It should drive you if you're inspired about it, and then you anchor it in service. And in our elite business program, we teach people how to monetize their mission. So you can actually build a value ladder and scale a business, either live, in person, or online, and actually learn to monetize your mission. So this works, but it's really exciting to base it on contribution, because then you'll have inspiration, you'll be aligned with it, you'll love what you do and do what you love, and automatically you'll make the world a better place. So then you're now accumulating good karma as well. Because like I said, if you're doing something that you don't think is good for people, you're actually slowly killing yourself. So just stop and start something that you're really passionate about. And you can literally make the rest of your life the best of your life if you follow these three principles.
Yeah, it's so profound and such a great, reminder. I remember at the event you spoke to, particularly when confronting your biggest fear, and I won't go into the process that you guys do too much, but the point is that when we're in fear, we are stuck looking at our own insecurities and our own story. But to step out of that, think about, how this can serve others, think about the contribution that it can make. And in an instant, it like a light switch, just flick from fear into what you say, fuel, so that we can be motivated, driven, inspired to be able to serve more people. So it's such a fundamental human need that we have to contribute back to the greater good of our community and of society. And it's in my belief that those who are in a position of power in our world really recognize this, to be able to move people and to be able to encourage certain behaviors out of society and out of people to move in a certain direction. That's another whole rabbit hole. I just want to keep it focused on our intention today, which was the 3 steps to scaling online with your mission and your message. Dr. Espen, you've delivered phenomenal content once again, and I want to thank you for your time and sharing your inspiration and wisdom. Once again, I'm really excited to be working on this new documentary with you that we're going to be releasing later on, very soon to come. So this is exciting times, and you guys are working on some really exciting online virtual experience, which maybe you want to touch on briefly before we end the call. But lots of great things.
Let's give the viewers some more value here. This is so important. When I was a primary healthcare physician in clinic and I owned the clinics, I recognized the pattern in me that when I was working with my patients, I needed to say the same thing over and over and over again. Because I was working one-on-one, a person would have a question about nutrition. How do I eat this? How do I do that? What about water? What about this? What about that? What about meditation? How It's same thing, right? And in the beginning, I was really passionate to respond, but after a period of time, I was not passionate at all, because I'm like, geez, I've said this now 10 times already this week, right? So I thought to myself, how can I say powerful things and get a powerful message out to a lot of people at the same time? So I said to all of my patients, okay, because the questions, because I was a personal trainer for 12 years, qualified nutritionist, and also a qualified teacher, phys ed teacher. So I thought to myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an event, and I named it Superfood, Super Fit, Super You. Okay, so I created a seminar called that. And I said, hey, listen, I said to all my patients across both of the 2 clinics that I was owning and operating and practicing in at the time, bring all your friends and family. It's a free event. We'll go for a couple of hours, and I'm just going to answer all of your questions in this presentation. 105 people showed up. And I remember saying to my assistant at the time, whoa, where are we going to fit them in? Something that was sitting in the door outside. Some of them were sitting in front of the yoga room, like it was packed. So I stepped up on this little stage that I had, and I presented, and then I walked off stage, and I walked up to my assistant, and pardon my French, I said, what the fuck just happened? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, what happened? She goes, well, you were on stage, you were speaking. I said, I get that, but I can't remember what I said. Like, I was completely gone. Like, what happened? And then I researched this later, and it's what's known as the flow state. In neuroscience, we call flow to be in the present moment, not doing, but being. We call it transient hypofrontality. The moment where you go from basically doing whatever you're doing to fully being present. The surfer is one with the wave. The rock climber is one with the rock. The presenter is one with the stage and his audience. Okay. And when you do what you love and love what you do, you get into flow state where the prefrontal cortex of the brain slows down and you move energy and blood and awareness to other parts of the brain, to superhuman parts of the brain that can awaken. This is how you access your superpowers. So in that instance, recognized my highest value. My purpose was to speak. Think about live presentations. Think about all the people such as Apple, Elon Musk, all the leaders in the world that are doing, and launching new products like the iPhone or the Tesla truck, whatever. They could use any medium, but they use live presentations. Why? Because it works. You are an authority when you're on stage. Now, this is why I'm a speaker, because people will follow, and not just that is my highest value, but people will learn and follow people that have the microphone. And it's so easy today. Listen, you've got a microphone in front of you right now. You've got a computer. You could start speaking, sharing, teaching right away. The world is an amazing place in terms of technology at the moment. So what we are doing at the moment is we're scaling online. I don't have to say the same thing 105 times. I say it once to 105 people. But now I say it once in a 3-day event to 250 people. And I run a Zoom call and I say it once to 1,500 people. I do a video online. I put out a yoga class the other day or a while ago, and that's had 130,000 views. Right. So there's 130,000 views. And so you can do so many things now that you couldn't do a while ago. So here's the key. If you recognize that you have a message inside of you, start considering getting that message out to the people and do it, or at least consider doing it online. Shay and I are now putting together the preview of the quantum documentary. And Shay's done, if you haven't seen Regeneration, look up Regeneration, the work that Shay did on the documentary, just mind-boggling stuff. Once that production is done, it's out there. And you can influence hundreds or thousands or even millions of people while doing nothing at all. So think about the automation of going online, the power of automating the stuff that you're doing. We're now putting a lot of money into a large production to take our 1-day quantum experience, like it's about 3.5 hours plus breath work, and get it out to the world and automate parts of the process so that we can have people in countries throughout the entire globe watching and having a quantum experience at the same time without me needing to do it live in person, because I only have so much time, I only have so much energy. So one, leveraging the power of being a presenter or a teacher, and two, getting stuff online and recording it and getting it out there is possible for almost every person, at least in most countries today. So yeah, go and get what's yours in the universe. Speak your truth, share your message, get it out to the people. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. So keep on going, keep on flowing, and enjoy the process of sharing your gift to the world.
So much value. So good, Dr. A. Appreciate your time, appreciate your message, and thank you so much for sharing so willingly to the world. Big love to you, brother. Really excited to be sharing this preview out to those viewers who are still with us, and look forward to more great conversations coming up in the very near future.
Absolutely, me too. Keep an eye out for the Quantum Experience documentary. The preview's coming out soon. It's going to be absolutely exciting. Love you guys.